So the fear and pain are in this loop. And I think when it comes to foods and eating, there's so much of that at play too. When you start to get nervous, like last time I had this, I got bloated. And last time I, had this, I had to run to the bathroom. And the fear says, look out, here it comes. And
Hmm.
then your body goes on high alert. So that nervous system is not at peace, not at ease, not ready to rest and digest, but it's on high alert. And so I think that there's a lot. And when it comes to the wellness world, we are inundated. Everything is terrifying.
Hmm.
Everything is out to get us. Everything is toxic. And I'm being dramatic here, right? But it's like my nervous system says, I can't do this anymore, right? And then you have people that really fall into deep despair from the fear of the world, the natural world. And so, kind of in this revolutionary movement, I've decided I'm leaving the wellness world. And I'm leaving it, the wellness world does not mean that I do not prioritize my health, that I don't prioritize my peace, because I actually feel like the peace is our cornerstone of health. In fact, I'm prioritizing my peace so much so that wellness sometimes has to take a back seat or even get in the back of the truck.
Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey, health junkies. On this episode of the Health Fix podcast, I'm interviewing Sylvia Hall. She's a creative entrepreneur, founder of Lifted Naturals and Honeypot Publishing, and a co-founder of several other joint ventures with her husband, Tim. Sylvia's life journey began with a personal battle with postpartum depression and migraines, and that inspired her to create Lifted Naturals, a mood probiotic company designed for sensitive individuals like herself. Now, Sylvia's mission extends way beyond wellness. In fact, she really wants to help others discover what lights them up and empowers them to embrace a life of peace and authenticity. And in this podcast, we're talking about some of the things that bug us in the wellness space and really thinking about healing versus living. And the fact that those are two different things when it comes to finding wellness, and how the wellness industry really does put this fear out there, and fear is such a low frequency. We want to be thinking about how can we raise that vibe. We also talk about the downfalls of conflicting information in the wellness space and really learning how to trust your intuition when it comes to your health. And so we're going to be diving to all of these things on this podcast, and we'll have some good laughs. And no doubt you will come away with this podcast really understanding Sylvia's mission, but how important it is to really take a step back from all of the things that you hear on social media, all the things you hear on podcasts, and go, are these things creating more fear and dis-ease within me, or are they helping me? And really leaning in. And hey, if you got to shut off my podcast because of certain things are triggering you, that's okay. I too want you to be able to trust your own intuition when it comes to health and making informed health choices. So let's introduce you to Sylvia Hall. Sylvia Hall, welcome to the Health Fix podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
Well, just from knowing a little bit about your company from my clients saying, hey, you got to check out these Lifted Naturals. These probiotics are pretty legit. Check them out, see what you think. I was like, okay. And then when I was pitched to have you come on the podcast, I was like, yes, I love talking to people and also putting a face with a product, because for me, I like the ability to be able to chat with folks one-on-one who own these products versus, the companies versus, who knows, big pharma. I don't know these days. So I'm so glad you're on.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've definitely learned from, I love entrepreneurship. I have to be honest. Like some people, I like to say I waltzed out of the womb an entrepreneur. So for me, it was like, how can I make things that help people, that lights me up? And of course, my own struggle postpartum was really what led me to creating Lifted Naturals, which we can get into soon. But whenever I can bring all those magical pieces together of like, ideation, a vision, that's really how I get really excited and lit up.
Oh man, me too. Me too. I just, yeah, I think I could have been a serial entrepreneur if I was like maybe not told certain things in my life, you know? Ah, what a bummer. I'm like, well, here we are. I finally got this far. We're good.
You're doing
So
it.
we're doing it. We're doing it. Now, postpartum, postpartum depression, postpartum, I call it kind of funk, because there's so many different things that can happen. And sometimes, I'll have moms come see me and they'll be kind of like, I know maybe I need more vitamin D, or oh, I know maybe it's this. But a lot of times we're not thinking how probiotics and even how what's going on in the gut affects the brain, because so many people are still hearing that, we've got the neurochemicals in the brain, but no one's really talking about all in the gut. So tell us a little bit about your story, so folks can get a little backstory on you.
Yeah, so it was a struggle after my second child, and I have later learned that it takes about like 12 years for your body to remineralize after birth. So if you do
Whoa.
a whammo, slammo, two in a row, my kids are 2 years and 4 months apart. They're both teenagers now, so I guess I'm like getting close to being remineralized. Um, yeah, like that's something I didn't know at the time, right? That if you keep having these babies, like your body, you're really putting your body through something.
Hmm.
And I felt it. And I was just looking for more natural solutions. And I stumbled upon the gut brain connection and this idea that probiotics could be specifically targeted for mood. And I'm pretty sensitive. So if I take something, I'm going to have like, if it's like possibly you could get a headache or you could get a stomach ache, like I'm probably going to get it. So I was already kind of opening the capsules and sprinkling a little bit into some different things. And I started just playing around with different strains and noticing a very true impact on my mood. And this is something I don't think a lot of people will say, but in some ways, certain strains I felt down, like even more down. And in some strains, I felt like a noticeable lift or bump in my mood. And so I continued to play with that, continued to study the different strains. And from there, I was like, I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing on the market, and I think I can do it better. And
Hmm.
so immediately knowing that with this line of consumables, it's not something I literally was going to make myself, that's when I started picking up the phone, calling different manufacturers all in the US saying, can you do a custom product? And a lot of them wanted to white label. They were like, we have a probiotic. It's great. You can put your name on it. I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is serious. We got to get very particular about, things we can and can't include. And so from that, it was really just a matter of that having a problem, looking for a solution, and then feeling like I could do it better. And a lot of people say, like, so you're a chemist or a biologist or no, I'm none of those things. I am like a mother that was scorned and was not pleased with the solutions that were given to me. And from that journey, it was a continual effort of better, not bitter ways to feel better. And so that the search through probiotics was really like a noticeable benefit versus other mood support things that made me feel like a veil had been over my head or like I might not ever be able to stop taking them. And so for me, this really was like a turning point where I like to say probiotics changed my life.
I mean, a lot of people say that, right? And the beauty of what you are doing, and this is something that I'd love to recommend to my clients, is like, hey, you're in your body. You're experimenting. You're figuring out like what goes well with you, because yeah, the veil, the like weird feelings in the head, the like weird gut stuff, not every probiotic jives with everybody. And so figuring out like which works best you know for all intents and purposes, experimenting is the way to go. It's
Right.
what we
And
have
I
to
feel
do.
like that idea that like paying attention to how you feel when you start any new supplement or any new regime. Let's say you're going to start dancing daily because you found it is the ultimate mood lifter. Okay. And it is free and it is accessible and you turn on music and you dance daily. Like track it, open a journal and write down like, okay, I've been dancing 3 days in a row. And I'm not talking about professional dance moves. I'm talking about swaying your hips and getting back into your body because we live in such a heady world.
Hmm.
So anything that you decide to do a little different, if you can pay attention to how you feel, I think that's a big boost towards seeing what works for you. And I think that so often we get really busy and really distractible and yeah, I started taking these few things at the same time. And even though we offer multiple products, I always say if you bought a few things from us, just start with one thing. Start with one, see how you feel, and pay attention to how you feel in your body.
It's such sage advice, because so many people, yeah, they try them all at the same time. And I'm like, I'm guilty of like giving protocols with everything and then not mentioning like it is best to take it
one step at a time. I mean,
And maybe not like maybe someone who's not as sensitive, but like I think us sensitive folks know who we are. Like
oh yeah.
and and that's, know thyself. And if you're someone who's like, no, I could just throw them down the gullet and it's fine. It's the same thing with going slow when you first start. So one great thing about our probiotics is that you can open the capsule, sprinkle a little bit into like a smoothie or some other beverage, and you can work your way up. Or even I like to buy empty capsules and just sprinkle a little bit into the capsule because I don't have a problem with swallowing capsules. But someone who's like, I need to go slow and I don't love swallowing a bunch of pills. If you go slow when you first start, you can ease into that new bacteria. And I feel like that's one of my others. So like pay attention to how you feel when you start anything new and go slow when you start is specifically when you have a mood issue and kind of a gut sensitivity. Like when you just, here's, 30 billion CFU of probiotic, it can be a bit overwhelming to the system. And one of the things that I continue to see kind of a dispute of is the Herxheimer reaction real? Is die-off real, or is that really only something that was like planted into our mind that dangerous things should, can feel bad? And that actually is the perfect segue into why I think I might have to leave this health world to begin with, is because of the conflicting advice. And as someone who is very passionate about saying what I mean and meaning what I say, there are times where, the gurus that I absolutely look up to are saying two different things. And I have that moment of like, the more I know, the less I know. So we can come back to that. I hope you're taking notes because I'm jumping around. I'm getting excited. But yeah, when it comes to probiotics, I've experienced with my own products. If I jump to a new one after I haven't taken it for a while, because we have 4 different mood probiotics, I will experience some bloating, a headache, if I go straight to a full capsule of one of my different formulas that I haven't been taking in a while. So to me, that is a sign of die-off. That doesn't mean that this formula is bad for me. It simply means it's too much too fast, and to slow it down, ease into it, and then give my body time to get used to that new good bacteria. So that's my take on die-off. I'm standing by it for now, is that I believe it is a real thing that can be avoided. I don't believe in powering through it. Instead, just be gentle with yourself and with your dosage until your body is kind of acclimated and gotten used to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, wise advice. It's kind of how I stand on it too. A lot of people will take these things and they'll be like, "Oh, I felt awful." I'm like, "Well, there's a little bit of a adjustment period." And it's like,
Yes.
"Hey, we've all been on a playground and like all of a sudden these new kids come in and we don't know them. I mean, probiotics are new friends coming into your gut. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't.
I
You
like
know,
that. That's great.
how I see it. It's how I see it. And when you're adding like 30 billion of your new best friends,
Yeah. Bit crowded,
yeah.
bit chaotic. So yeah, we ease into it by going slow. And then that kind of eliminates that idea. And I feel like if almost any of our 4, someone could say, I did not do well with this. Almost any of the 4, I feel like if you go slow enough, like your body can adjust and get used to it. So that is the tricky thing that not everybody kind of knows about probiotics. And some capsules can't be open, but for all of ours, they can. So you can go slow when you first start.
Which is a great feature to have. It's a huge feature because so many people are sensitive. And I have to say that I think that we're getting more sensitive just because of the overload. And let's go back to the wellness industry. I think a lot of us have experimented on
Mhm.
on too many things. And now we've got our guts confused, our nervous systems confused, trying to figure out what is
Ding,
all
ding,
this?
ding. Yeah. So the idea of like, okay, do you have any friends maybe that still watch the news? And you're like, you're a nervous wreck. You need to stop watching the news. And then their
Mhm.
argument is, but I need to be informed. And then we lovingly say to our friend, informed but not inundated. Okay. And when it comes to the wellness world, we are inundated. Everything is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is out to get us. Everything is toxic. And I'm being dramatic here, right? But it's like my nervous system says, I can't do this anymore, right? And then you have people that really fall into deep despair from the fear of the world, the natural world. And so, kind of in this revolutionary movement, I've decided I'm leaving the wellness world. And I'm leaving it, the wellness world does not mean that I do not prioritize my health, that I don't prioritize my peace, because I actually feel like the peace is our cornerstone of health. In fact, I'm prioritizing my peace so much so that wellness sometimes has to take a back seat or even get in the back of the truck, the way, way back. Like the wellness has to get in the way, way back for me to feel that peace so that I can feel, at ease in my body and in my mind, without looking for everything to be a toxin that's trying to kill us all. Somewhere in between there are balanced choices where we say, I feel better when I eat eggs for breakfast rather than, this giant bagel. Somewhere there's a balance that we have to find, but I don't think it's always food. And I think that, but of course I grab the food analogy, but I do feel like, it's like I'm not just willy-nilly, because I do feel the repercussions of, for instance, if I have a glass of orange juice without some cheese, I don't
Right.
feel as well. But if I have cheese with my orange juice, like I love it. I feel so good. It's like I get the synergy. And so for me, it's about finding that balance. And sugar is a whole nother one. I went down the rabbit hole of sugar, and that that's been tricky too. Like I said, to just really dissect like what I believe, who
Hmm.
I respect. I continually say like, oh, I don't know, there's just so many really intelligent people, but these two really intelligent people are opposing when it comes to the sage advice. So it's a tricky world out there. And so sometimes I can be a bit dramatic and say, I'm leaving the wellness world.
Right.
And what I'm going to do instead is very simple, and it's prioritizing my own peace. And from that place, then I can make decisions that are right for me in the moment, honoring my nervous system, honoring my sensitivities, honoring that I do not need to be inundated with advice. I can instead trust the flow of my body and of life. And I'm a work in progress, so let that be known.
Aren't we all though? Aren't we all? And like, I always listen to Abraham Hicks and she's always like, and we'll never get it done. We're never going to get it done. So we just go with the flow. So in my mind, when patients come to me or clients come to me and they say, Doc, I don't even know what to eat anymore. I don't know what to do anymore with my health. I've listened to this podcast. I've done this particular protocol. I spent money on this. It pains me because I think we are kind of scare tactic prone in the field, but we're also bias prone. And a lot of people are looking through the lens. I just talked to another gal not too long ago who was talking about the lens of whatever's du jour, right? Like parasites are hot right now, so is POTS, right? So then everybody has those. Like I'm sure you've seen that too.
Yes, and there's also like, because I continually have my mind and heart open, that like my mind has continually been changed about things
Yeah.
like that. But I think that there's a really amazing sense of truth when I say I need to prioritize my peace.
Yeah.
And from that place, I can make a sound decision that my intuition will guide me to. But the noisier it is and the more information we get, the harder it is to hear that voice.
Hmm.
And I like to use the analogy too that we used to get like a newspaper once a week or a month delivered by a pigeon. I don't know. I'm not saying me personally, you know, human beings. And now, like, one bored moment, we're on our phone, one
Right.
moment in the grocery line, and suddenly, like, oh, toilet papers, that's actually killing me. Shoot, like, right, it's like but like I'm not even kidding, like that's when I open my phone today, like it's the newest thing that I'm like, oh right, I never even thought about the lowest toxin version of blank, insert here. And there's been some unique things I've seen for people that are um sharing that, like I never went down the wellness trends, like I just try to generally eat healthy, and like sometimes I think that that distance a bit is able to just keep the peace. And so for me, that is the idea of leaving the wellness world, is that the obsession is unhealthy,
Hmm.
and the inundation of information and strategies and things is unhealthy. And I'm able to see it through the lens of like, well, of course, you just don't watch the news because it makes you, but we are literally picking up the news with our news feed. And with all these targeted ads that are able to see when we get scared and when we freeze up, probably has a little pulsometer on there, like, oh, look, her heart rate's up. She's terrified. Show her more, right? And so kind of leaning into the awareness of like, this is not what I want. And the idea of being healthy, this is, I would say, just so important, is so that we can live our life. And so we can use our gifts in this world and we can feel pleasure and enjoyment and love and make an impact with our creativity and our gifts. And so I think that for me, when I am able to say, I need to separate myself a bit from this wellness movement and move into just living my life, using my gifts, being who I am, caring less what other people think about me and instead going for it. Like that's living life. That's why I want health. Maybe we just shortcut. Maybe I just go straight to what I want and living that life.
Well, I mean, there's so much I can unpack there. We'll start with this one. I mean, what do you want? What gives you pleasure? And intuitively what feels good. This is kind of where I've turned my practice to is like, all right, well, you're telling me the story you like this, you're a foodie, but you're not sure how to make food at this point. Well, let's go with your intuition here. Let's go into that. Do you find that a lot of people have lost their intuition because of all of like the inundation of messages 24/7?
Yeah, I would say it's the noise and the fear. So
Hmm.
I would say fear, even though stated second, is the number one, right? Because fear puts us out of that alignment with truth, with our true self, with source,
Yeah.
love, God, whatever you want to call it. Fear is kind of like this, the veil that blocks that knowing that we're all one and that we're all connected and it's all okay. In the end, it's going to be okay. Like this deep, deep knowing that it's okay. It gets kind of turned off when the fear, radar is going nuts in the background. And so I would say that the idea of limiting the information is one way to quiet the noise, and quieting the noise then in turn quiets the fear. And those in like conjunction is a great way to begin to re-foster that connection to our intuition and to that intuitive knowing of what is best for us.
Which goes right back to how you created your products too, just little steps, at a time, seeing what feels good. And I think for a lot of people finding their own blend, I kind of have folks finding their own mix of what supplements work for them or what foods work for them or, I don't know what hobbies,
I
you
just feel
know?
like when it comes to even food, like the fear, okay, so I'm someone who's pretty familiar with headaches and migraines, unfortunately. Personally, a journey. And there's the fear pain cycle that has become really like loud in the online space in a beautiful
Mhm.
way. And it's this idea that the pain, you stay stuck in a loop of pain because the fear is setting off an alarm and it triggers the pain. So the fear and pain are in this loop. And I think when it comes to foods and eating, there's so much of that at play too. When you start to get nervous, like last time I had this, I got bloated. And last time I, had this, I had to run to the bathroom. And the fear says, look out, here it comes. And
Mhm.
then your body goes on high alert. So that nervous system is not at peace, not at ease, not ready to rest and digest, but it's on high alert. And so I think that there's a lot to say about finding that peace through some breath work or a prayer or some moment of stillness before you eat, like connecting to the energy of the food and the workers that brought it to you and the beauty of it all, right? And we kind of like taking a step back from the idea that this is out to get me or this is going to cause me harm and like instead extracting all of the love that is ready and available for us if we are seeing it through the lens of love and not that fear.
Oh man. Yeah, it's true. It's true, especially with yes, migraines, gut stuff in particular. Now, tell us a little bit about your migraine journey and kind of what kind of things have you done? What kind of, I know a lot of folks have migraines, headaches, this kind of stuff. What kind of things have you found to be the most helpful?
The most helpful it has been like a meditation and the fear awareness of, for me it's more cyclical, so my stress bucket gets kind of small during certain parts of my cycle. And so I'll tell my kids like my goal is not to go above a 3 today, and by that I mean on stress. So like them slapping each other, that's like 4, 5, 6. Okay. So we're going to bring it back down. My goal is to stay below a 3. But there will be things where, you go to your kid's soccer game and it's a championship game and it's intense and you're like, this is putting me way above a three. Um, but for me, a lot of the head pain I associate to being very much, it brings me back into my body because I'm so in my head. So personally, I try to do as much embodiment as I can to prevent a headache. Because if you think about just the tension in our head of like, it's like the overthinking, analytical, and then I try to solve the problem of the headache in my head. And it's just more and more examples of what not to do, and yet the pattern of doing it. And so for me, plenty of movement is useful, plenty of embodiment, and then meditation. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. I also love Abraham, so I was thrilled to hear you bring them up. Just kind of that like tapping into something deeper. Dr. Joe has this thing where he says, no place, no time, no thing, no one, nowhere, something like that when you're meditating to release it all. So I'll lay there in no place, no time, no thing, no one, nowhere, right? Just a total disconnect from whatever heavy stories I'm telling or whatever energetic components are kind of making things heavy. And so another thing is just the looseness. Like there's a tightness when I have headaches. So I start using, it's like I'm feeling loose. I'm getting looser and like using the words that I want versus the words that I don't want. And then every once in a while, you just have to pop some ibuprofen.
I love it. I love it that you say that because I think a lot of people feel like they're failing if they have to take the medicine. And I'm like, no, like we.
Sometimes it's just the greatest gift. And sometimes I'll use that like, okay, I'm going to take this and then I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to allow it to work. Oh,
Mhm.
a hot shower is also really useful. Sometimes I do a lot of envisioning of the water running down and taking the pain down the drain. Like, bye, bye. Sometimes I'll even do this really woo, like where I imagine all my ancestors of the female variety that had cycles and had their various struggles. And I call them in and say, will you just alleviate this struggle for me and like take this pain down the drain, usually like the shower. But just all sorts of creative techniques to feel supported, to remind yourself it's temporary, to try to turn off that fear, switch, which comes on and to switch back to like this is temporary. So those are a few things. Sometimes they
Oh.
work, sometimes they don't.
Well, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing to like if we can impart a little wisdom on folks, sometimes you got to do the bigger level stuff and that just happens and then you don't beat yourself up, you just move on.
Right. Very much, very true.
Now, of course, I saw a fun Instagram post that you had about your mushrooms, your mood mushrooms. And it said something like not those kinds or something like that. And I thought it was the cutest ad there. But a lot of people are hot on mushrooms right now. And not the tripping kind, guys, the actual mushrooms that help with concentration, focus, mood, all those things. So tell us a little bit about how you found this. Did you do some of your little microdosing along the way? And
A bit. It was more like customers were saying they wanted it. And that was a common, like, consistently, I was like, what else would you guys like to help with, mood support from a different angle? And magnesium complex is one that gets a lot of good feedback. It has three different types of magnesium. But when it came to like the next thing, customers were saying, like, we want these mushrooms. And if I can share a really quick story about mushrooms
sure.
that is just kind of silly and random, very innocent. I grew up in a small town. And my very first job, I was a server at a barbecue restaurant, and they were talking about mushrooms. And I was like, well, if they're on my pizza, I'll eat them. And otherwise, and they start looking at me like I've got like maybe an angel halo or maybe a horn out of my head, like, because that is not what they were talking about. And like to this day, like that is what comes to mind whenever I'm like talking about mushrooms. And there are many varieties, right? There's the kind that will help you to meet God, and then there's the kind that you put on your pizza. And I say ours are right in the middle. Okay.
Right.
So right in the middle there. And I do feel like focus seems to have the most research, but there are a lot of mood benefits. I intentionally did choose to do the fruiting bodies. I intentionally did choose to do organic only. But because we don't have a stamp on the front, we can't call them organic mood mushrooms. So it's like when you look at the back of our label, it shows organic, all of the rules that we want to follow. So we stay in line, stay compliant. That is top priority at Lifted Naturals. If the feds are listening. Um, Even as you said a few words in the beginning, I'm like, I can't say those words. Like we got,
Yep.
a big slap on the wrist. Like, no, no, can't say that. Can't share your customers that they've experienced that. So like, um, that was in a warning letter that we got in 2021 from the
Uh,
FDA. So I had to learn a few things. Failure to know the rules does not make you exempt from the rules. Literally, it was just like someone like sharing reviews and saying things that it helped with, but um, I had to rework my story even a bit to make sure I was able to express myself but still stay compliant. So, anyways, all that to say, there's
uh,
rules we got to follow, and I do lean highly and heavily into my manufacturer who when we do labeling and stuff, they're like, nope, can't say that, can't say that. I'm like, great, 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 great. So for the labels, we've always been very compliant, which is wonderful. It's just for some of our website copy, that's what we got to slap on the wrist. And so we've been doing better about making sure we stay compliant. I actually have a unique kind of standpoint. We as a supplement company cannot say anything can treat, cure, heal, prevent, or fix. So when I saw
mhm,
your podcast, I was like, this is walking the line. The
mhm,
health fix.
mhm.
I can't say it. So I know these are my no-no words. And so then I'm just continually like reworking and making sure that these are the things I can't say. And so my unique perspective is actually what if supplements shouldn't be able to say that and they're right, but nobody should.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about that idea? Because feels like you're stretching it on the other side too. And so that's my unique stance, like continually open to like maybe I'm wrong about this, but maybe you are too, bucko.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. Yeah, and the health fix, I didn't, when I got it, when I put it together, I was thinking like being a health junkie, right? And you're getting your daily fix. But I didn't think of it as being like, I get it now, like, however many years out. I was like, maybe I should change the name of the podcast because it's misleading as to what I mean. Because I fundamentally don't believe that there are fixes that are external, right? I
So
believe
my
that
son,
there's
he
an
started to get a cold and he's like, anything you can do to speed this up? I said, when their baby is growing in the womb, it needs 9 months. Okay. There's nothing we speed it up with. We just give it 9 months. I'm sorry, but here's some hot tea. Just give it time. He didn't like that. He said, I mean, mostly just to trick my mind into thinking I'm like, oh. Because I'll be like, you need some electrolytes or here, drink a sparkling mineral water. This is going to replenish you and you're going to be better in no time, right? Mind over matter. So I did kind of take that away from him a bit by saying, just give it time. Nobody wants to be told that, right? We want to feel
no.
empowered. So once again, I walk that line of what do I believe about how the body heals?
Yeah. 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 No, it's crazy. It's crazy thinking those things through. How old are your teenagers?
I've got a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Wow. That's a
Yes.
lot of hormones. Mm, a lot of
Mood
hormones
ups and
flowing.
downs, like when one's up, the other one's down, and then they're like tag team.
Man,
It's a very
man.
good exercise in allowing others to have their emotional experience and not allowing it to be my experience. Like they get to feel that way. I feel like that would have been a really great thing to fully learn when they were like 2 and 4. But I feel like I'm coming around. I'm learning some lessons.
Man, I can imagine. I did not have children. I just have golden retrievers, but I could not imagine trying to navigate all that. My goodness. Now, you and I were talking a little bit about not caring what others think. And I think for a lot of people, when we're in the health and wellness, when we're into it, right? Sometimes things get a little wild in terms of things we're trying. Maybe there are mushrooms involved, maybe there's, probiotics, things of that nature. What kind of advice do you give to folks who are just trying to figure themselves out and trying to get away from the noise and not, try not to worry like what mom thinks you should take, what grandma thinks you should take, what your doctor thinks you should take.
Well, I can't speak on that. You should always talk to your doctor. That being said, personally, whenever I am experiencing this idea of like not caring what other people think, it's always a kind of flipping the script of like, how much do I care what I think? I have to value myself. I have to see myself as a reputable source. I have to give myself the credit that I deserve for the lived experiences I've endured or triumphed
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when people care a lot about what other people think, they are not giving themselves enough credit about what they've experienced and like validating themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So seeking external is an indicator that the internal has been ignored.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a flip around. And I do this a lot with a mirror. Like when someone makes me mad,
Mm-hmm.
I just imagine them as a mirror, like, what are they showing me that I am doing this to in some way? And so it's kind of like a mirror back or like flipping the mirror back on myself. So I do think some people came into this world just like knowing who they are and not caring what other people think as much. And that actually has been me. I do feel like that's like I may have a somewhat sensitive nervous system, and I may have an overactive imagination that I have to reel it in as far as some different fears and, my own journey. But when it comes to just being me, I'm like, oh, this is it, right? Like this is it. This is kind of cool. Like this is who I am. And then to experience life now with two teenagers and the entire premise of teenage life is to stay in line, fit in, don't stand out, don't make waves, don't be foolish, don't say anything embarrassing, don't say anything about health, don't talk about politics, don't do, right? And so I'm watching them and I'm like, okay, my greatest hope is that I can model for them how to just like lean into this idea that the more I value like who I really am, the less weight that I give to these others about how they judge me or how they see me, right? And it's this idea of like, I don't need to care what other people think about me. That's just really none of my business. And the
Mm-hmm.
more I am my true self, the more I magnetize to me the people that like that. And the real disservice when I'm not in my truth and when I'm not living as I really am, is that those people they can't find me and I can't connect with them and I'm not able to inspire them and I'm not able to perhaps give them that little boost that they're looking for that they need. And so for me, that idea of giving someone else more weight, it's just that idea of discrediting yourself. And I feel like if you're doing it in one area, health per se, you're probably doing it in other areas, like back to living. Remember, we talked about how health is kind of one thing, but really, why do we want the health? Why do you want to feel well? Why do you want to get rid of the headaches? Why do you want to have no more gut issues or whatever? It's because I want to live. And so if you are experiencing the invalidation in the health realm, take a look at the big picture of your life and who you really are. I just did a post recently about the number one regret of the dying, or at least one of them, is that they didn't live, life as their true self, or they didn't allow their life to be led by what they really wanted. They allowed the expectations of others to take over. And so for me, that idea of validating yourself for your entire life picture of what you came here to do, what you came here to learn, who you came here to be, making it even bigger than just about this one subject where you're invalidating yourself because it's all mirroring back in these other ways.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of self-exploration that I, of course, have done a lot lately, but I think, it's one of my messages when it comes to exploring health more. It's really exploring you more and more exploring yourself. I think it has to be part of your health journey or else.
Yeah, yeah. And just that idea of when we're constantly conflicted as far as feeling like there's always a problem and we're always in solving mode, that isn't that rest and digest phase either, right? That is not the phase of vitality. And so just more and more ideas of what do I love and what lights me up. And I would say most people say that's even harder than knowing which supplement to take, right? Like I don't know what I like. I haven't spent much time on it. And so for someone who says, I don't know what I love, I don't know what I like, I don't know what to do to bring me joy, that is then the new first job. Rather than doing things you love, the focus is figuring out what do I love. And you can try out some different things. Buy a ukulele, try painting. These are all things I've done. Um, keep exploring, like keep being open to new ways of being in this world, being open to changing your mind about things. You might have a belief, I'm not good at playing an instrument. And so you never allow yourself to try. And so if you can be open to changing your mind about something as small as that, it creates a ripple effect in every other area of our life.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It also makes sense, just listening to how you came to your title, or your business name, The Lifted Naturals, because it just sounds like you're just out to help lift people up.
We actually had a different name, and
Did
I haven't
you?
shared this story very much, but it was a terrible name. And no offense to anyone that has this in their name, but it just wasn't right. And I knew it. And I had this pit of my feeling, intuition of knowing what have I done. And we did already set up like our LLC, and we were getting ready to place our first order of 1,000 bottles. No, they allowed us to do less, 750 bottles of mood boosting probiotic. That's our first product that we launched that continues to be a top seller. I had already decided if I couldn't get them sold online or whatever, I was going to sell them out the back of my Subaru Forester. Pop the trunk and say, come in here, come get your probiotics. Luckily, it did not come to that. They took off very well. But I digress. Back to the name. I had this feeling like this is not it. And it was Zen Blend Health. That was the name. Zen Blend Health. I was like, Zen, it's nice, it's chill. But Zen was kind of becoming a very overused word, and it felt kind of like rude to the word, right? To just like tear it apart and just throw it on something like that for someone that doesn't really have like Zen as an aspiration, not a way of life at this point for me. And maybe still, but I'm work in progress. So I spent an entire day with like a notebook, and there was pacing. There was so much pacing. And it was just like this, no, yes, no, like writing. And when the name Lifted Naturals came to me, it really did feel like a bodysuit that fit just right. I'm like, that's it. And so it has been like a big part of, we had the Lifted Life podcast that we did 100 and I can't remember how many episodes. That was my husband and I. If we want to, do we have time to share a bit about what it's like working with your husband?
Go for it.
So in some ways, he literally is everything that I am not able to do. Like I am the visionary, I am the entrepreneur. And I don't know if you've heard what is the e-myth that talks about that to be a business owner, you actually have three roles. So you're an entrepreneur, you are the manager, and then there's a technician. So I am the entrepreneur. And he says in the book, not very many people are, but some people are. And I'm like, that's me, baby, because I got a vision. And if y'all want to come with me, like, here's where we're going. And that's the whole idea behind an entrepreneur is like that vision that's different than what we are now. And then the manager is like, we got to get this done. We got to get this lined up. We got to get this ordered. We got to get this. And then the technician is the implementer, the person who actually does it. And so he is this beautiful combination of the manager getting things done, along with the technician, making sure things are lined up. And I'm over here just dreaming, and like putting the vision out there, and he's able to kind of bring it all together. So in that way, it's a very beautiful thing. And I do feel like a lot of the success of Lifted Naturals is because we brought our powers together, kind of like Captain Planet.
Nice.
Um, but I will say, he's a man and I'm a woman. And we have been working together for 7 years. 5 of them, he's been home from his job. He was able to quit his job as an engineer because of the success of Lifted Naturals.
Nice.
So that was a phenomenal, probably one of my proudest moments because I was a stay-at-home mom prior to starting Lifted Naturals, dabbling in the world of coaching. I went through the life coach school and kind of learned about mindset and how our thoughts create our realities. Growing a coaching practice, but feeling very much like I've got something bigger to do. And so the idea of Lifted Naturals was very much my own, a combination of struggle and strife with like, I've got an idea to do it better. And he was like, this sounds kind of crazy, like one of your crazy ideas, because I've been having crazy ideas from the get-go, right? But this was one that he was like started to come around to and then very much came on to, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is like nuts. Like he's taking the product, he's in the bathroom way less long than he used to be, like immediate benefits. Things that you normalize that. People don't realize like that's not ideal to be on the toilet 20 minutes for multiple reasons. So anyways, for the last 5 years that we have worked from home together. And what I mean by pointing out he's a man and I'm a woman is that I believe one of my greatest assets as an entrepreneur and visionary is my feminine energy, my intuitive hits, my creatrix mode. And a lot of times I've found myself, without knowing it, kind of linking into the masculine, like do this, do that, do. I don't want to do this and do that. And
Mhm.
so, like, staying honed in on my feminine energy, allowing him to stay in his more masculine and managerial and technician type energy, has been something we've been going through just as of recently. Like, what can we do differently? What can we do better so that you're using your gifts and I'm using mine? And that's a lifelong journey, too.
Oh man, I tell you, I've brought my husband on to work with me a little bit, and definitely he helps with the podcast, but not the actual business. You know, it's I give people credit for that. Like we
It
we've
takes a
made.
level of like patience, and there's times that I'm more sensitive and I'm like, okay, you just made that face. You made that face that I really don't like. And it's like like it's like all day, every day. And there's times where it's not as much that way. And there's times where it's like, okay, well, like you work here and I work here. And luckily for our business, because I do quickly, as I said, I love entrepreneurship and I think everybody should have their own business. But I just want to clarify that a lot of people think they are an entrepreneur or business owner when really they're self-employed. So I'm continually encouraging people to stop trading time for dollars, to make an impact in the world with their gifts, but not exchanging it for time. And so a lot of what we've done with Lifted was through that one focus question of, is this scalable? Is this leverageable? Because I want this to be a business, not a self-employed endeavor. And given
Mhm.
that it's a product-based business, it's easier to do that versus a service-based business is a little bit like you usually start off as the technician doing the work until you might grow beyond it. But like I said, that's one of my many passions as far as just I think it's a wonderful experience of life when we have plenty of money to buy the things we want and need and to take care of the people that we love and to live in an abundant universe. Like if you believe money is abundant, maybe health is abundant too. And maybe time is abundant and maybe there's plenty of all of it. And when you start living from that place, you can't just be abundant with your health and then cut it off with the money. Oh no, I don't need money. I'm I'm here for the health. Like, no, you need your money, honey, because that health is going to help you to have plenty of money and to have plenty of peace and to be able to meditate for 3 hours straight. Money helps, right? So to me, to really be able to say abundance, you're talking about all of the abundance of love and energy, time, money, and freedom. And freedom's that's the real banger.
That's what we're all after. At least, I mean, at least I am. So when are you opening your division for business coaching? Is my next question.
It's like that natural progression of what lights me up and following it. So
Right, right.
for a while now, like I have started to see like the passion. Okay, so back to the mood probiotics just briefly.
Yeah.
Like I want to say if you're struggling with mood issues and some gut issues, a mood probiotic is probably right for you. We've got four of them, check them out. And then it's like, okay, so take that and use it as a momentum generator. But let's go, baby. Let's not just talk about supplements all day. Let's get into what lights you up and what are you here to do and what do you need to do so that you don't have that regret of I didn't live my life, I lived someone else's. Right? So like the blip of Lifted Naturals is this idea that yeah, you might want to take a supplement. You might need a little magnesium. You might want, but really, let's go. Let's roll with it. And so finding a way to integrate that is like kind of where I'm at right now of like, what can I, and being on your podcast is one of them, starting to reach out to more podcasts is one of them. For a while, I kind of felt a little silenced by, I don't know what I can say. I don't know what I can't say. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And, because Lifted Naturals is our livelihood, to have that threatened of like, you can't say that, like, that really shook things up for a bit because I was like, oh, we got to do this right or else. And
Right.
so I do feel like I'm bouncing back into the passion for Lifted. And the message I keep getting loud and clear is that for me, and I want to share it with others, is you don't have to be somebody you're not. So if I don't want to talk about specific bacterial strains in every single like I don't have to. Like as a brand, we can say, yeah, of course, talk to your doctor or do your own research. I'll tell you what strains are in it. But like really, as a company, we're here to help you get inspired. As a company, we're here to help you live your best life so that you don't have those regrets, feeling good in your body, using your mind and your energy and your physical body to move forward with momentum and ease and enjoyment.
Mm. Good stuff here, Sylvia. Good stuff.
Yay.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what we want, right? That's what we ultimately want. And I love the mission behind the name and the products and just getting people to a lifted state where they can accomplish things.
Yeah, and enjoy themselves. Like I love the Alan Watts quote, like the meaning of life is to live. And I might have butchered that, but it's the idea, like the idea of our life is to live it. Like there's no like sometimes I feel like we get it real heady about it, but the meaning of our life is to live, like and to live fully. And so for each individual person, that'll look different. I'm actually not in a phase of travel in my life. So I have some friends that just are so lit up by planning a trip and then going on the trip. And that's a beautiful thing. They should travel. They should do that. They should plan the trips. They should. And for me, I'm in this phase of like, I love creating products and I love creating things that like there's nothing and then I connect and then there's something. And so for me, like knowing that about myself, like I am lit up by the creation process, by creating things. And I think each and every one of us is being called to ask ourselves, like, what lights me up?
Mhm.
And by shifting that focus, I feel like that is a really amazing path to natural health is to ignore health for a little bit and just talk about life and what lights you up.
Mm. Good stuff. I think that is the mic drop for you there. We definitely want folks to be thinking about that. That is a mission there.
Sounds
So of
great.
course we
Thank you so
better
much.
tell folks
Yeah.
where we can find Lifted Naturals and of course Instagram and all the other things.
Yes. So social media is like this tricky thing for me, right? Because it can just pull me in and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So we do have Lifted Naturals Instagram and Facebook where we share insights and such, but then I kind of go off the radar a bit and then I pop back on. And so the actual place that I am the most passionate about serving is in our email club. And the email club is a free community that we pop into your inbox, share some insights, inspiration, what's lighting me up, and then, yes, I will sell to you there as well, talking about products, saying if you're struggling with this, this might be a good fit for you. Continually knowing that like selling is serving. And so the Lifted Naturals email list is, you can find it over on our website, liftednaturals.com. When you sign up there, that is the best way to stay connected, stay in the loop of what we're doing.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that, your story and the positive message, because I definitely think that right now that's what we need more of.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, fellow health junkie, thanks for listening to the Health Fix podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please help support me to get the word out about the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and just get that word out. Thanks again for listening.